I am pretty exhausted right now. Hi trainers, I'm Toots. How's it going? So, I've been playing some Comfey. I've watched others play Comfey. I've been reading opinions about Comfey, and well, things aren't looking good for it. I think this is probably the worst response I've seen for this Pokemon or for a Pokemon in Pokemon Unite in a while. Before I get into the reasons, I'd like to stress what's more important is if you do find Comfey fun to play, if you enjoy this Pokemon, then keep doing you. I will always encourage players to enjoy themselves first in Pokemon Unite. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why Comfey is just terrible right now, probably going as far as saying it's the worst released Pokemon I've ever seen in Pokemon Unite, and I honestly think it needs some changes, but that's just my opinion though. For the question of the day, what do you think about Comfey so far? I'd love to know the comments down below. For me, Comfey is playing supporter, but like on Dark Souls difficulty. A quick disclaimer, this is just my opinion based on what I've seen, what I've done, what I've experienced. Of course, if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments down below, or let me know how you think they could change Comfey or balance Comfey, or why you think Comfey is in a good spot. I'd love to know in the comments down below. So, Comfey introduces a super new unique mechanic in Pokemon Unite where it attaches itself to allies and supports them through heals, small amounts of damage, and some crowd control. This brings us to our first problem. Number one, it heavily relies on teammates. A majority of us play Pokemon Unite solo, and Comfey is anti-solo, very not solo friendly at all. This Pokemon relies so much on your teammates knowing what to do, and the issue I find is that it's very communication heavy as well, which is something you don't get a lot in solo queue. There are so many times where I was attached to someone hoping they would go in, but they wouldn't. And it's not their fault, it's just that this Pokemon probably relies more communication than any other Pokemon. You also have to hope that you have a team comp that can actually work with Comfey. So for example, you don't want to be on a Pokemon that is like a far ranged Pokemon or is like a ranged Pokemon, because Comfey has a lot of abilities where it's close range and it needs to be closer to the enemy as well to work better. So if you're on like a Spirit Shackle Decidueye, it just wouldn't work. I find Comfey to work best on Pokemon who are like defenders, maybe some speedsters, and especially all-rounders. It just, for me, didn't seem to work very well on attackers at least, or just Pokemon that were just generally playing at ranged. Number two, it does too little. Comfey is such an interesting design, but I feel that it is pretty underwhelming. I'm not expecting this Pokemon to deal like a ton of damage, but its heals are so little and it takes a ton of effort to stack your flowers to gain the maximum heal you can, and it's not even that great. And it's still pretty underwhelming even when fully stacked. I feel that there are just other Pokemon who heal better and are more impactful on the team, like Blissey, who has pretty strong heals. Clefable's heals are so much better, and Alzagar's is a great mix of damage and heals. With Comfey, you just have to constantly stack your flowers to heal your allies, but the heal is too weak in my opinion, and I feel that this should be buffed. Number three, its Unite move is not the best. Personally, the Unite move is okay, but it's mostly there, in my opinion, to get your stacks up. It will heal your allies too, but the issue right now is that not a lot of people understand how Comfey works in solo queue, which is fine, it just came out, but enemy players will generally leave that area where Comfey is healing its allies. Number four, it's completely useless without an ally. Again, it just heavily relies on your teammates to understand how Comfey works, or at least work with you. But three of your abilities don't do anything unless you're attached to an ally. If Comfey is not on an ally, it is the easiest Pokemon to take out ever. It literally feels like it dies in 2 hits, but in its defense, I was running like a full special attack build with no survivability. However, even with the survivability, I feel that it would still really struggle. And I think that's kind of fair in a way that, you know, Comfey is a Pokemon that needs to be on an ally to do it the most. Like in League of Legends, when I played Yumi, it was pretty much the same. When I was off an ally, I would die so quickly. There was a very low chance of a survivability in League of Legends as Yumi when you're not attached to an ally. So I think it's fine to do that because of the way Comfey works. But at the same time, Comfey is so underwhelming at the moment. It feels like a double slap in the face, an extra punch right after a punch in the face to me. I feel that if it was better at supporting its ally or stronger, I feel like I would be like less sad about how squishy it is. Number 5, damage. I like its magical leaf. It doesn't deal a ton of damage, but it's nice poke damage when you're on someone, which I think is fair since it's like additional damage to the Pokemon that's dealing a ton of damage. But I think its other moves can be a bit difficult to use sometimes when you can't communicate with the player you're on. Sometimes if they make a different move, the aim of your move will go somewhere else, and that's just the issue of not being able to communicate with your ally. I don't see how they could change this because it will always just having to, predict right or hope that you and your ally are on the same page to try and get this move out. I'm not somebody who thinks that supporters should do like a ton of damage. I mean, Mr. Mime's damage, Eldegoss's damage during its Elder God phase, etc. Like, those were some insane times as supporters. And, I'm not saying like Comfey should do like a ton of damage. I'm just pointing out more that this is just a little con that sometimes it will not work out that way because your ally will move in a direction that you didn't expect. So your move aim would actually be different and you would actually just like miss on the enemy that you were targeting. There are some pros of Comfey though, don't get me wrong. Number 1, it may be decent as long as you're not in solo queue, as long as you have someone to work with. This Pokemon might work alright if you're playing with a friend or a team. Can't really say the full potential of it, but I did play some games of a duo which I will upload after this video, and it's something I feel like you won't want to miss. It's actually a lot more unique than how I'm explaining it. But in those games, I could see some good potential in Comfey when paired up with a player who you can communicate well with. This doesn't mean this Pokemon doesn't need changing. I still feel that it needs some more work put into it. Number 2, it's very, very fun. I found it fun. Comfey's playstyle to me was pretty relaxed. If you're playing with someone you can trust to work with you. Solo queue though, it's a different story. It's not relaxing at all. Actually, it's quite the opposite of relaxing. It's unique in Pokemon Unite, taking inspiration from Yumi in League of Legends, and I'm happy to see Pokemon with unique mechanics. Number 3, you don't have to chase your allies. Sometimes, if you're attached to them, you can go in with them. My friend that I played with is a very aggressive player, so having a Comfey on him was literally perfect in this scenario. I felt that I did pretty well keeping him healthy too, but Comfey can be really cool with a player that is very aggressive and is mechanically skilled at the same time, so they can actually dish out a lot of damage and hit a lot of their moves and everything, and they just know how to position a lot better. Number 4, to cut Comfey some slack. This Pokemon is very new, and I feel like a lot of players who are in the game at the moment who don't watch the videos or anything like that probably don't understand how Comfey works properly yet. So when you have a Comfey on you, you probably don't know, okay, what do I do with this Pokemon on me? I don't even know what they do. So I do think it is very early as well. Maybe Comfey will be a little bit better when players understand how Comfey works because they know that they have to go in for Comfey. But even when people do know, I still think that it's a bit undertuned. Like, it's just not as strong as I think it should be. I'm not saying it should be overpowered, but I think it should do more. So right now, to cut Comfey some slack, I think it's also doesn't help that a lot of people don't understand how Comfey works. I do have a guide for Comfey as well for players who even have Comfey on them, so they know how Comfey works. But yeah, that is the thing I thought that would be very relevant to how Comfey is at the moment. In conclusion, I just feel that Comfey takes a ton more effort to do what other supporters can do better already. You have to jump off your allies quite a bit to get more flowers so you can increase your stacks to increase the heal or maximize the effects of your abilities, and it's pretty difficult to jump back on your allies when they're constantly running away from you. I feel that it's a lot better when you're playing this Pokemon with a friend, but in solo queue, I would try to avoid it if you're not enjoying yourself. I've been playing a ton of supporters lately, and playing supporters in solo queue is already a challenge in itself with a lot of patience. I give huge props to supporter mains because I am just not built for it sometimes. I'm definitely open to some Comfey changes or balance updates for sure for Comfey. I feel that it's too underpowered for solo queue, at least for now. In the time that I did play it with my friend, I enjoyed it a lot, but in the solo queues, I don't want to do that again. Trainers, I will be uploading another video today about Comfey that I feel will really show how well Comfey can work, and what I have planned for it will be the first time I'm doing it on my channel. If you'd like to be notified, feel free to subscribe to the bell. It was pretty insane. I'll have it linked here when it's ready and linked down below in the pinned comment, because Comfey actually has a lot more potential than I'm saying in this video, but in solo queue, it's just quite the opposite. Thanks for watching.